Hi, scientists! We have been working and studying different animals, and I wanted to tell you a special name that scientists have that study animals just like we've been doing. So, animal scientists are called zoologists, and the first part of the word says zoo. So, we've all been working as zoologists. What animals have we studied so far? Right? We started with learning about fish. Hi, Goldie. Hi, Sunset. What other animal did we study last week? You're right. We observed birds and learned about their parts and their structures. So, we are going to learn about a new animal this week. And I'm going to give you 3 clues to see if you can figure out what animal we're going to start studying. Are you ready? The first clue is this animal doesn't have any arms or legs. Are you thinking of some animals that don't have any arms or legs? I know I can think of a few. Let's hear the second clue. The second clue is this animal moves very slowly. I was thinking it was a snake at first because a snake doesn't have any arms or legs. But the second clue says it moves slowly, and I've seen snakes move really fast sometimes. So I don't think it's a snake. What else could it be? Let's hear the third clue. This animal's house lives on its back. What animal are we going to start studying? I bet you guessed it. If you said snail, you're right. We're going to start studying Stanley. He's really excited to teach us all about snails. Now, there's different kinds of snails in the world. And we had a snail in our classroom in our big fish tank. Do you remember? That's called a water snail. Stanley, are you a water snail? No, Stanley wouldn't be found in a fish tank. What kind of snail do you think Stanley is? Where does Stanley live? If you said land snail, you're right. Stanley lives on land. Now, he likes water. He likes moisture. So you'll probably find him in areas that have water near it. So a lot of times people find snails near their gardens because they water the garden and the snail likes the water droplets. And snails love to eat green plants. What's your favorite type of green plant to eat? Stanley loves lettuce the most, but they'll eat all different kinds of leaves on green plants. So you might find a snail in the garden. You also could find a snail near maybe a stream or a pond. There was a pond where I live that I walked to looking for some snails. So near water, they like moisture because their body is covered in mucus. And I know that sounds kind of gross, right? Because mucus is in our nose, but it's important. It helps the snail, especially with moving, right? So they love damp, wet, moist places. Sometimes they're underneath rocks or near a rotten tree on the ground. They also are nocturnal. Stanley, what does that mean? That's a huge science word. Other animals are nocturnal too. It means Stanley prefers when it's nighttime, don't you, Stanley? When it's daytime, what do? Yeah, he likes to hide, so it makes it really hard to find them, to study them, because they don't really like the sun. So when are the best times for us to look for snails like Stanley? Yep, at nighttime. So a lot of us sleep during the night. So you can also go out early in the morning when it's not really bright outside and maybe there's going to be some fog or moisture in the air. Snails love that. Now you still can find them during the daytime. It's just a little bit harder. You're going to have to really look. Check the plants at the bottom of the plants or go near a garden. If it rains, they come out all over the place because they love water. If it's dark and stormy outside, you'll find them outside too, because remember, they like when it's dark. I had a really hard time looking for a snail to study. I went everywhere. I walked all around my neighborhood. I went out early in the morning. I even went out at nighttime, and I couldn't find any snails, which I guess is good for the plants because snails eat plants. But I wanted to learn more about them. So guess what I had to do, scientists? I had to call Home Depot and ask them if anywhere in their garden center if there were snails. And guess what? They had one. So today you can go out and study and look for snails. Where did you find your snail? Did you even find a snail? If you can't find a snail, that's okay because I have one here that we can look at and study. So Stanley, I'm going to put you down for a little bit, okay? But you'll come back at the end. Okay. He's so excited. So here is the snail that Home Depot gave me. Do you see? You can kind of tell that it's kind of what, slimy, and that's that mucus. And you can also see maybe that there are some droplets on the container. Some of that is from the snail. When the snail moves, it leaves some of its mucus. It's actually called a mucus trail that it leaves. So when you're looking for snails outside, you might find what looks like slime, and it's just like a line or a path that the snail's moving on, and you could follow it and see if there's a snail at the end of the mucus trail. Now there's other types of water droplets in here too. This is called condensation, and the reason why there's water droplets on the container is because I added water on this paper towel. This is really important. If your mom and dad are okay with you creating a habitat for a snail for the next week so that you can study them, you need to make sure that every day you add some water to a paper towel, because remember, they need moisture. Something else I needed to do was give them food, so I added some leaves, and you can see that the snail is really enjoying the leaves. And then the last thing I needed to do was add holes on the top, because this snail, like Stanley, is a land snail, so it breathes oxygen just like you and I do. So I put a bunch of little holes in the top so that the snail could breathe. So today your job is just to go and look for a snail if you can find one, or just make some observations. What do you notice about our snail? Go ahead and take some time to study it. You can even share with someone next to you. What are you noticing? Think like a scientist. I definitely can tell that my snail is moving slowly. Let's see if you can see from the inside. This leaf is kind of in the way. But on the snail is its home, right? What is that? A shell, and it kind of goes in a spiral. It almost comes to a point like a cone when we were studying shapes in math. And my snail shell is brown, like dark brown and light brown. It almost has stripes on it, or rings like you might see on a tree trunk. Now, if you're going to go find a snail today, it is part of nature. And when you are a scientist, especially a zoologist, every creature deserves to be treated with care. So you're not going to step on it, you're not going to squish it, you're going to treat it very gently, because zoologists care about all living things. So I know sometimes on accident, people step on snails. They don't mean to. Or if they're in their garden, they don't want them there, right? So they remove them. But this week, we're studying them like a scientist would. So we're going to treat them with care. And when you pick up a snail, you're going to notice that it doesn't want to come up. It's really holding on to stay safe. So if you pull it really hard, you might break the snail's shell. So my recommendation is to get a little spray bottle of water and put some water here, and it will loosen up the snail so that you can just slide them off carefully. There, now you can get a little bit better look. Oops, his food fell out. Hi, snail. Okay, well, I hope you have fun going on a snail hunt today and thinking like a scientist and sharing what you observed about your snail. Not tomorrow, but on Wednesday, we're going to do some more learning about snails and some different activities. So before we go today, Stanley, since he is a land snail and he's covered in mucus, he wants to give you a mucus kiss. So if you don't want a mucus kiss from Stanley, go ahead and put your protective shield on, so that if he sends a kiss your way, none of his slimy mucus gets all over you. If you don't mind having a mucus kiss from Stanley, then you don't have to put your shell on. You ready? So you have one. Hurry, put your mucus shell protection shield on. 2, 3. Stanley says bye. We'll see you next time, zoologists.